Hello, also welcome to the particular video by PrepBee, which is around the series that we are forming around form filling fundas, right? So in this particular video, we would be reviewing the form of BITSoM and we would be discussing what are the questions that are given in the particular form and how should we approach those particular questions. So before going ahead, these are the steps to be followed whenever any particular B school forms are out. So if there are any forms out which have questions related to your profile or anything of that sort, PrepBee will be pitching in for the first step. We would be making videos on the questions that are given pertaining to that particular form. Post that, what you have to do is that you have to follow those instructions. Then you have to make your answers and get them vetted by any particular mentor that you are following. And if you are part of PrepBee, obviously you have your group mentors and individual personal mentors who will definitely help you out to vet your answers. And also now we have introduced the L2 review in which you can get your answer review at a next level, right? So this is something that will obviously help you out in finalizing your answer. The next step would be watching a Charcha B school pertaining to that particular B school. So, for example, now BITSoM's forms are out. So, we would be having a video on Charcha B school with some of the students studying in BITSoM currently. And those particular people will share their journey in BITSoM, how they feel like, how their belief system is there in BITSoM, how the culture is there, how peer interact with each other, etc., etc. So, basically, if you want any insights from the particular people coming out of those college, you can have those insights. And if you feel any insight is relevant to you, you can definitely pitch in that insight in your answer. Simultaneously, we will be also creating additional support group for a particular B school when and where the calls are received by any candidate. So if any candidate who is part of PrepBee has received a call from any B school for that matter, then there will be a separate group formed of that particular B school, and you will be part of that group. And in that particular group, we will also get people from the B school itself. So in that case, you can have a isolated ecosystem where you can interact with people of the same B school. Now going ahead with the questions that are given in the form. So right. So first particular question is tell us a little bit about yourself, your beliefs, your values, academic and professional, and all leadership experience. How will this enrich the cohort experience? Right. So the first question might look very much overwhelming because they have asked a lot of things. But if I have to divide the question into two parts. So, majorly, the question can be divided into your tell me something about yourself, plus obviously a question on how you can highlight your USP to benefit the cohort, right? So, this is the basic question that the B school is trying to ask, but they have divided the question into a lot of segments. If you watch the video that we made on Tell Me Something About Yourself, you will realize that the majority of the portion that is asked in this particular question has already been covered in that particular video, right? So if you have prepared your introduction, tell me something about yourself very diligently, then I don't think so this should be a problem for you because a good introduction of yours will definitely include all of these values. Now, something that I would want to tell all of you is that we have interacted with a few students of ours who are studying in BITSoM currently, and what they have highlighted is that because the form already has a lot of details about you in terms of binary details and quantitative details. Now, the panelist or the B school would want to know you as a person. So try to highlight more towards the qualitative parts of your personality instead of again focusing on the binary and the quantitative parts, right? So while mentioning this answer, what we would suggest, and this is coming directly from the students of that particular B school, that try to highlight the qualitative part and don't focus a lot on mentioning the brands, quantitative part, and the binary things in your profile, right? So, how you should structure this question is that who I am, what I have done till now, how I work, and what I act. So, this should be a flow, and this is the flow that the question demands, not something that we are pushing onto anyone. This is the flow that question demands, right? So, who I am in this, the question don't want to know that what is your name, etc., etc. The question wants to know you as a person. So talk about your beliefs and value, how you think and what you stand for, right? For example, if your beliefs are XYZ, and you stand with working hard or you stand with smart working, etc. If you would want to back it up with the example or any incident that led you to have certain beliefs, obviously do that, make a structured answer in that sense, right? This is something that we obviously say that if you are mentioning a statement about yourself, try to back it up with a rational reasoning or a situation if it is a situation based question, right? So the highlight over here is that they are not trying to ask that what is your name, etc., etc. They are trying to know you as a person, to talk more about your personality, your beliefs, and what are the things you stand for, what are the things you abide by. The next thing is what I have done. Here, again, you don't have to focus on a lot on what are your academics, what is your professional journey, in the sense that I have worked in this particular company, this was my role. No, you have already mentioned that in some other segment of the form. Here, what the B school would want you is that try to highlight your personality that has shaped you as a person out of your academic and professional journey, right? So if you are also mentioning about any work experience of yours, for example, I was working in XYZ company as at this particular position, and out of whole of my experience, I have got this and this learning it. This is how I have shaped myself out of that particular experience. This is how the structure of this answer should look like, and not that you are mentioning about what was your role, what people expected out of you, right? So you have to understand what the question is demanding and what the B school is expecting. Don't mention the mundane things that you usually mention in the form, because BITSoM is somewhat a profile oriented college, and they would want to know you as a person more than the binary stuff, as I have already mentioned, and I've reiterated this multiple times. Now, how I work. So, how I work with people, your leadership experience, the team behavior and working style. Probably you can pick up any one instance from your life where you have worked in a team, where you have showcased certain leadership skill, and try to infuse that particular incident into the answer. And again, the highlight over here should also be how is it has shaped you. This is the crux of the answer, that what we personally have understood while interacting with the students of this B school, that this particular question wants to know you as a person. So each and every segment of this question should eventually boil down to how that particular has shaped, which particular instance has shaped you as a person, and how are you as a person right now, right? So all of different experiences definitely had certain impact on you, and how as a collective impact has shaped you as a person, right? Now, the last thing is that what I add, and this is the USP that you would want to highlight, in which sense you have to highlight that, I would tell you. See, the question clearly says, how will this enrich the cohort experience? So now the question is itself demanding that you have to tell something that is firstly aligned with the MBA program, that too will the cohort. So what you should ideally do is that firstly you should interact with your mentor or someone, or you can do your research also, but you should understand that what MBA has to offer, right? For example, definitely there are lectures, but in lectures also there are a lot of case studies, there are a lot of discussions from in which people from different background can definitely help. Then there are case competitions, there are clubs and committees which run the campus, right? Which do a lot of things here and there in the campus. So MBA campuses are usually student driven, right? So there are a lot of aspects in an MBA degree where a student can pitch in and get the impact created at a larger level, which can benefit the cohort, right? So you should definitely think this particular aspect in terms of MBA sense, that what MBA demands and how, as a student, I can like enable that demand and help the cohort as such, right? So, so this is all for this particular question. Coming to the next question. So, describe what you believe to be your most significant accomplishment or failure to date, explaining why you view it as such and what you learn from it, right? So, basically, what the question is demanding is that, firstly, a accomplishment or a failure, and obviously, they want to know that what were your learnings, right? What were your learnings in that? Just Right. So what were your learnings in that? So basically, what you can do is that you can divide this particular answer into two types. So first could be that where your failures and where your accomplishments are not at all related, but you definitely have certain failures in your life. And secondly, you also have certain accomplishments in your life. So what you can do is that you can mention my accomplishment, then you can talk about the accomplishment part, and then again you can talk about my failures, and then you can talk about your failures part. A very simple structure. You would have also heard of this type of structure somewhere else as well. That firstly, what you can talk about is that your significant failure or accomplishment for that matter, right? Then you can give a context to it. So, what is exactly the context? That what was the situation, what you are trying to explain, right? So it can be any event that where you were trying to organize. It could be a experience from your work experience where you had to deliver something, but you were not able to deliver the deliverables at particular expectation, or probably you have delivered you have delivered the deliverables above the expectation. It was a great accomplishment for you. You were rewarded for that, right? So it can go both ways. I am telling you structure that you have to follow in both the cases, right? The second thing could be your role and responsibility. So if you have set the context that what is the exact situation you are trying to brief upon, then you have to tell that what was your exact role and responsibility in that. Then going ahead, what went right or what went wrong. This is the main thing that will highlight that, see, this is something that went right. That is why I feel this is an accomplishment, or this is something that went wrong according to me. And this that is why I feel it is a failure, right? Why do you consider it a failure or accomplishment? See, when you have structured your answer in this sense, no, I don't think so that you have to now specifically tell that why do you feel it as a failure or accomplishment, because you have already set the context. You have listed down what was your role, and going ahead you have also mentioned that what went right and what went wrong, right? So if you have already done this, then it is pretty much understandable that why do you believe it is a failure or a accomplishment now. And obviously each and every experience in our life have certain learnings, right? If you even had a failure, you have definitely thought about it in the future, like what could be the things that you could have done better to prevent this sort of a failure in your life, right? So while you understand that yes, there are these things that I could have done better, that are your learnings basically, right? Because if certain thing happens of similar sort in your life going ahead, you won't repeat those mistakes again. So that is the learning for you. And same goes for accomplishment also. Like if you accomplish something while the journey, you would have learned some things. It is not that you were a perfect person and you were able to achieve anything without any hardships, right? So you can definitely talk about that. Out of the hardships, out of the hard work that you did, these were the learnings you had. All right, cool. So this is one thing that you could do, but what we would personally suggest and what some of the students has also suggested is that there could be another way of doing this, and that is about showing the transformation arc. So how transformation arc will work for anyone is that firstly you tell a failure in your life. You tell that why did you fail and what were your learnings, and try to build upon those learnings and showcase that okay, at for example in T time there was a failure and you had certain learnings post that, and then T plus X amount of time, for example few years later of that time, you changed that situation. You changed that situation to an accomplishment. For example, you participated in an event, you were not able to do good, but you had certain learnings. So you build upon those learnings, and after a few years in the same competition you were able to win a position, right? So this is how you can show a transformation arc, and this is a very good framework to use because it will easily amalgamate both the things that are asked in this particular question, the failure and the accomplishment part, and it will build a storyline in of your life, right? It will show your story starting from a failure, then what were your learnings, and then how were you able to accomplish those learnings or had an accomplishment through those learning. So when anyone can use this, the failure genuinely changed your behavior. See, don't after hearing this, don't try to push in things into this framework if you genuinely feel you had certain instance in your life which changed you as a person, and now in any situation which you face you are a very changed person, and the way you behave and the way you deal with things, the way you accomplish your outputs are very different from what you have done at certain point in time, then only use this framework. And second thing is that you can show clear improvement over time. if you can show the improvement, for example, I'll take that the example that that particular student gave. So he was a state level swimmer, right? So he said that he was not able to bag a medal in particular year, but he knew that what were the mistakes that he made. So improving on those mistakes, learning out the carving out the learning curve, then he was able to get a gold medal after a few years in the same competition. So if you are able to show a clear improvement, if you are able to show that yes, in the same situation I failed at certain point in time, but in the same situation, I was able to achieve a better and a good outcome at certain point in time. If you can show that very clearly, then only use this particular framework. And third thing is flow is very important, right? Flow is very important. It should not be otherwise. For example, you won a medal at certain point in time in your life, and then you had certain learnings. But in the next instance, you are mentioning that. So one of my biggest failure is that when I went for that same competition after a few years, I was not able to win a medal. So that is my biggest failure. So flow should not reverse itself. It should always go from failure to learning to accomplishment and should not go otherwise. That you accomplished something, you had certain learnings, but then again you were not able to do or perform better than that, or at least at the same level, and you failed, right? So the flow should always be a upwards curve and not a downward curve. So this is the two ways that you can use to answer this particular question. And I feel if you use any of these, it will make complete sense to the panelist and it will also help you to give a better structure to your answer. Now, this particular question, and I personally believe that this is the question most of the people of out of you would be waiting for because this is something that is very unique and probably only BITSoM would ask this sort of a question. I don't think so any other B school can or would be able to ask this sort of a question, right? So if you have anything else you would want us to know about, you feel free to tell us here. You can also use this opportunity to tell us about your favorite book, movie, song, art, or sports movement and why it resonates with you, right? So obviously, if you have anything unique about you, you can mention, right? And to be honest, I have interacted with people who have mentioned literally anything. So there was a student who told me that he mentioned about his watch collection, that he is an avid watch collector. What are the watches in his collection? How did he started collecting the watch? How did his interest build in this particular collection journey? And what are like, for example, what is the best watch he has? So he has mentioned, he has curated a story around it, and he has mentioned that. Then there was also a student who talked that, hey, I didn't had anything that unique that I could highlight. But what I did is that I picked up on a song, right? I picked up on a song basically. I mentioned two lines of that song that really motivates me, and I built a story around that. That whenever I feel low, whenever I feel demotivated, I usually hear this song. This song is sort of a motivation enabler in my journey. So you can build a story around that as well. And see, this question is there to know you. So please try to use this question just to highlight your personality. This is what matters. You do it by the virtue of a movie, by the virtue of a book or anything, right? Or even by the virtue of anything unique that you would want to mention, like any hobby of yours. If you are a foodie, if you like to try new dishes or new cuisines for that matter, if you like to collect anything else like coins, etc., etc., right? So this question can entail anything that is unique about you, plus that highlights your personality, that highlight your traits, right? And obviously, when you are writing this thing, please keep one or two ending statements. For example, if you have mentioned about a USP of yours, obviously you will give some brief about that. Why did you feel this is your USP? How you have built around this USP? Any particular situation you would want to mention? And towards the end, at least two lines on how it has shaped you as a person and how do you believe you are as a person right now, right? So I believe this is all for BITSoM's form. Only three questions were there, and we have almost covered all the pointers that we've felt that are very useful, that will be very useful for you. So if you have any doubts pertaining to this particular form, you can definitely ask that out in the comment section. If you want that you would want to discuss any doubts or want to be in a community where the doubts are discussed and any everything else that is very important for a GDPI journey is discussed, you can definitely join the WhatsApp and the Telegram community of PrepBee. The link will be in the description. And also, we have made videos on Tell Me Something About Yourself and My MBA. So that is the video that can help you in a lot of forms. So if you have not watched that video, please go and watch that video. We would wish you best of luck for all the colleges you are applying for, and may you convert your best call. So all the best. Thank you.